Good Good morning. Happy Saturday and welcome to Becoming Eva. We have a special episode today. We are talking about women in family because we wear so many different hats as women. We can be wives, mothers, single moms, we can be business owners, writers, authors, teachers, so many different hats. So today we're going to be talking about all those different roles in different families.
Yes. And can I say, I feel like the family unit, well, I don't feel like I know the family unit is the most important community where women show up. And oftentimes we belittle it or just kind of downplay it because, hey, we do it every day. We cook, we clean, we're wives, we're mothers, we're daughters. We do all of that every day. It's almost like breathing, but it's so important because it lays the foundation for us to be dynamic in all these other areas that Latoya just talked about. So women and family is important, and we really want to take time to celebrate that today. So we've got two very special guests with us this morning. Shall we introduce them?
Yes, we have Mrs. Deeldra Brown and Mrs. Sarah Bordeaux here to join us today on Becoming Eva. We are so excited to have you guys join us.
Yes.
I'm honored to be here.
Yes, same. I'm excited. Great morning, everyone.
Thank y'all for being here. We're excited to have you. So before we get into learning a little bit more about both of you and your own personal stories and the roles in which you show up in family, we're going to talk about what's trending. Okay. So for those of you that are part of the BE community, every week we got to talk a little bit about what's trending. So we got two hot topics that we're going to talk about today. The first one, we mentioned actually earlier, I think probably during our season premiere, we talked about hookups and breakups. And one of the biggest breakups or shocking breakups was that of Lisa Bonet and Jason Momoa, also known as Denise Huxtable and Aquaman. Okay. So if anybody's wondering, so they, did announce that they were getting divorced. And some of you may or may not know that Lisa Bonet was previously married to singer, songwriter, performer Lenny Kravitz. So this past week, there was a picture on social media about Lenny Kravitz and Jason Momoa on their motorcycles, and they were like dabbing it up and just, really like just talking about their bro bond, if you will. So the question came up, how do you feel if your exes remained friends or were friends? Like, would y'all be okay with it? Would you feel uncomfortable? Would you be like, are they talking about me? If they are, what are they saying about me? Like, how would you feel if your exes were friends?
That's a little weird to me. That's a little uncomfortable. I'm gonna need you not to be friends with my ex, dabbing it up like y'all riding motorcycles. What are y'all talking about? Are y'all talking about me? Like, there's so many different things. My mind would be going to so many different places because she's broken up with both of them, right? And they're hanging out together. So what are y'all talking about?
I don't know if she initiated the breakup both times, but yes, they are no longer together.
Yeah, I think there definitely needs to be a period of time in there for some healing to happen, before they could be friends.
I'm the same, and I know they have, I know you get into the whole co-parenting scenario and things like that. So building relationships, I'm not sure how the relationships were built and what happened to cause the demise of that relationship. But I just think it's odd. It's too much for me. Especially if I'm not on one of the motorcycles. It's too much.
Right.
You're like, if I'm not in there, if I'm not involved, then hey, you can't do it.
You can't do it.
That's rough though, because like you said, co-parenting is real. Like they had to build a bond when Jason and Lisa were married because they were co-parenting and raising Zoe Kravitz. And so like there was a relationship built, but now that they're divorced, it's like, okay, do you forget about that relationship? Like what happens with that? So it's a lot.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Anyone else? Any other comments on Lisa Bonet's exes bonding?
Not for me. That's all I gotta say.
Two very handsome men. I gotta tell her she has.
Oh yeah, no,
great
no,
taste.
that I can agree.
Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful men. Beautiful.
Yeah.
The next topic of what's trending is actress Sandra Bullock. Now, you may know her from movies like Speed and Miss Congeniality, The Blind Side. She actually is about to release or just released a movie called The Lost City. And in her interview to promote that movie, she said, hey, after this, y'all, I'm taking a break. I need to focus on raising my two children, and I'm about to just, chill out for a minute. And so, of course, there's always conversation about that. And y'all know this as women, there's always a conversation of can women have it all, and if you do have it all or try to have it all, what does that look like? And so for her, she's like, hey, I'm going to focus on being a mom right now. And it is what it is. So what are you all's thoughts on that?
I mean, I definitely can relate. Raising kids is hard. And sometimes you do need a break from doing everything. And I don't really know about the demands of being an actress, but I know sometimes that they work really late into the night and long hours to do those shows. Sometimes they have to travel far away and be gone for like long periods of time. I get it. Being a mom is hard. And it's very hard when you add like work life balance is very difficult. So I definitely get it.
Yeah, I love Sandy B. So I support her, whatever she decides. But yeah, no, I definitely get it. I think I heard a phrase or a quote one time that says that you can have anything, but you can't have everything. And I think that her taking a hiatus or taking a break doesn't mean that she can't come back on the scene. She's done that before, and I think she can do it again. And I respect her doing that as a professional woman. I think that it just, makes it easier for laymen, to feel like, it's okay to take a break. There's nothing wrong with taking a break. Taking a break doesn't mean you're finished or you're done.
I agree. I think because as mothers, we always get stuck on everybody else and just making sure that we have the time to recharge, re-energize for ourselves, but also making sure that we have the opportunity to be there for our babies, to see them grow up, because that oftentimes, it happens so fast. And she's done a lot in her career. So I think that is really helpful. I know for some individuals, some women who are starting out, it might be a more difficult decision to make, because then it does become, do I do and just kind of go after my dreams, or do I kind of put it on pause here? And I like what you said. It gives other women the opportunity to know that it can be done. I can pause, I can handle home, and then jump back in when I need to.
Yeah, the elder, you're actually right in the vein of what I was thinking, because motherhood and being present for your children, whether you're a mother or a father, is so important for your children, because you only get that time span of raising them once. And it's so important to be mindful of the person that you're shaping and putting out into the world. I'm not a mother, but I always hear that as they're young, the days are long, but the years are short. They go fast. And so, it's important to take the time, if you can, if you have the ability to, and really hone in, because you don't get those formative years back. So I commend her. And like you were saying, she's definitely established in her career. I think her worth at this point is like $250 million. So she definitely has the means at the time to do it, and not all moms do. But I'm glad that she is making that a priority while they're young. So kudos to you, Sandra. We'll see how it goes. She jokingly said, I don't know, after 3 months, I might be like, I can't take it, I'm going back to work. But all right, y'all. So let's jump on into the topic at hand. Toya, do you want to kick us off with sharing your story?
Yes. So we have two amazing women joining us today on Becoming Eva. We have Deeldra Brown and Miss Sarah Bordeaux. And we would like you all to kind of share a little bit about how you all grew up in your families. Just let the audience know just a little bit about what it was like growing up in your family. And we can start with you, Deeldra.
Okay. I think for me, and I share a lot. I know for me, as just growing up, I grew up in a single mom home, and it was very much the women around me. That was our village, my aunties. They were mostly single women as well. I had the opportunity, and plenty of opportunities, thankfully, to experience summers with my father's parents. And that was always amazing. We had a very small village in the South, because a lot of my family on my father's side they lived up north. So spent a lot of time there and just enjoying growing up around cousins. I think for me, I did not have a lot of family members who went to college. So that was a big push for my personal growth, is just making sure that I could go to college, seeing that as a way to not just better myself, but just making sure I had a better foundation for financially. So that was a big push as I grew up, just making sure that I had the opportunity to stay smart, stay ahead in class, doing what I needed to do to handle business, as I always say, but just making sure that I had those opportunities and those doors open. Progressing, I think I can't even remember when I started college, but Georgia State University is where I attended my undergrad, received my master's, and ended up continuing further along the way. But I'm here today. So
Awesome.
That's
Sarah, you
beautiful.
want to share your story?
Yeah. So I think we have a lot in common. I also grew up in a single mom situation. I'm originally from New Jersey, but my mom, when I was very young, decided to move to the South. So we moved to North Carolina. And so we left family behind. It was just my mom, my brother, and my sister. And so we were our own family unit for most of my childhood. My mom suffered with some health complications, and so she needed a lot of help. And so when I was growing up, I helped her a lot, and I learned a lot from that experience. And then my husband and I got married very young and started our own family really young. But as the same as you, Deirdre, yeah, I decided a long time ago, nobody in my family had graduated high school or went to college. And I was like, I'm going to be that one. And then I got married when I was really young. And I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, how is it possible to do, like we were talking about earlier, have it all, is it possible? So I went to college mostly online. Thankfully, that is an opportunity now. But I just actually graduated last year. So, and now that I've done that, now it's like entering the career phase as a mom. So it's a whole different ballgame. But
Well, congratulations on that.
thank you.
It doesn't really matter like when you start, you finish the race with getting your degree. So don't sell yourself short on that. So we're super proud of you.
Thank you.
So congratulations.
Thanks.
Yes. So I wanted to ask, how did your upbringing impact your perspective on how you view family today? Were there any life-changing moments in your childhood or through your teenage years that maybe shape your perspective of family?
Yeah, so for me, definitely so. Growing up, I just didn't see a lot of positive male role models. I had a very negative perception on what a family looked like. And so, um, and like I said earlier, I got married very young. So going into marriage, I had a lot of baggage about that. And it did shape, um, you know, I think I learned what not to do. And it was like, okay, I don't want to repeat these same mistakes that I saw all my life growing up. And so I went into it kind of, um, knowing what not to do, but not what to do. So we had to learn. It was a journey, and we're still learning it. We don't have it all figured out, but
Yes.
And I think for me, very similar. My father at a very young age, for me, I want to say it was 3 or 4, he committed suicide. So that really shaped my thought process, and not even knowing at a young age. My mom, she never remarried. She never really dated while my sister and I were growing up. And I know for me, that kind of, I didn't really have an idea of what a positive, kind of very similar to what Sarah was saying, what that looked like, or even what a positive relationship with in between men and females look like, because she didn't even have male friends around for the most part. Um, Biggest impact male wise in my life was definitely my grandfather. Again, we were with him every summer, every break. And I think looking back as a mom now, that was probably the biggest blessing to her, because every break we were in Alabama. So my grandfather, and then as I got older into my teenage years, my uncle, he became a very pivotal individual in my life, and just really trying to help guide and direct. It wasn't always easy, because again, it was just a different type of relationship, but just learning. But that definitely had a huge impact early on. And then, as was Sarah saying, my mom, she was diagnosed with cancer multiple times. So when it came time for that, like college and school, I didn't want to go away, because family is a big thing for me. And my mom is a rock. So I wanted to make sure that I could be there for her to support. And that for me just gave me, I think, those ideas of making sure that you can always be there for individuals that you call family. And now I don't even look at it as just the individuals who I am related to by blood, but it's friends who have become family that are there. So when I call you family, when I call you friend, it is a big deal, because that it means a lot, because time is valuable. We're here in this space and place for a given time, and we don't know when that time is up. But being able to be there, be strong for someone, I think just those instances really impact me and just my thought process of family.
Wow. So many
Wow.
parallels. Like I was just thinking, like I have very similar experience growing up in a single parent household, and but first of all, I did want to say, Deeldra, thank you for sharing about your father's passing. We actually had a guest on last week that had a very similar story, so I commend you for sharing that first and foremost, and then just the path that you have taken thus far, in recovering from that. I know that's a huge loss to experience at such an early age. But I was going to ask for both of you. I know you talked a little bit about how being raised by single parents like shifted or shaped your perspective of family in general, but specifically men and marriage. I mean, both of you are married. Like, what was the transition like, as far as even like, was marriage something you still desired? Was there a healthy interaction with men? Did you have healthy models of marriage around you in order to inspire you in that direction? Like, what was your path, if you will, toward just having a healthy perspective of marriage and even desiring marriage?
Jesus is working on me still.
Amen.
um, I am prayerfully, thankfully, newly married. All of, I think this is day 14. And for me and my journey, I think at one point, and I'll go back because being raised by a single female and just a village of single females, I saw like independent, got to be strong, doing everything on my own, not asking for help, not needing anybody. And I think that also impacted me with just the dating process, how I saw men, and just their role as well. I don't think I'm traditional in the aspect of I like I need a man type of thing. And I think that also what I realize in as I'm continuing to grow in this process is making sure that I have the opportunity to yield. And I'm working. The Lord is still working on me. I promise you, y'all. That word submit has been just a continuing thing for me, just even in our engagement process and just allowing that to be a journey. But being raised in that village, it definitely impacted my thought process, my mindset, because I, I honestly, and then being in Atlanta, it was definitely like, I'm fine. I just, I can do this on my own. I don't need anybody. I don't need the troubles, the headaches. But when you are sent someone that is your person, that is the one that and God has shown you that is the one for you, it changes things. And it has been a continual growth journey. Definitely a lot of reflection for myself, and just even taking pause, because I can say something really quick and keep it moving. But understanding that that person is with me and we are in this together forever. And that is a friend. And if I look at him as a friend, being able to be honest and genuine. So I will say, like I said, it's a continual journey. And that word submit, because that wasn't there before. It wasn't. Wasn't at all.
You know what? Submission is difficult, even when you grew up in a two-person household, and like I did, my stepdad and my mom, just watching their interaction, it wasn't role modeled for me. My mom was very much like strong, authoritative, not submissive. And that's not a good, I'm not saying that like, yeah, she was like running things. That's not what I wanted for my life. And I've really had to pray and work on myself, before getting married, because it wasn't role modeled for me how the woman's role in a marriage should look like. So I had to go out and view other role models in marriages, to kind of understand what submission even looks like, in a healthy marriage. So it is a growing process, and I learn different things every day. I've got to learn how to hold my tongue sometimes, and not everything that comes in my mind should come out of my mouth. So it's ebbs and flows. I get corrected by the Holy Spirit all the time. So it is a learning process. I know you are a newlywed, and it's not going to happen overnight, but you'll get it. Just a lot of prayer, because it is hard. It really is hard.
It is. I'll say just it's a journey, piggybacking off of that. But what I am learning, and I say am learning because it's still a process, is that there's peace and freedom, honestly, in submission. And a lot of people don't realize that. But as coming from the background of being raised by strong, independent women, being a strong, independent woman myself, I am finding freedom and peace in it because everything doesn't have to fall on my shoulders. It was never meant to. I was never meant to make or break every decision. I was, that was not a burden I was ever designed to carry. So when I realized that and how God designed the family, there was freedom in that. Something as simple as just, a simple decision about, I don't know, a cable provider. Like, I can say, okay, let me go talk to my husband first, because what? I don't feel like making a decision right now. I don't have to make the decision right now. And it may not even be a big deal to my husband, but just knowing there's space in that and saying, okay, I don't have to make the decision, number one, nor do I have to make it right now, because there's a counterpart that, I can consider and consult with. So just simple things like that. But it definitely has its challenges, but at the same time, I think the more I've learned to embrace it, the more peace and freedom I found in it as well. So I don't want you to feel like it's gonna be like grueling, like, all the time. I don't want you to feel that way. Definitely will have your challenges, but at the same time, I believe you'll find the benefits of it as well. So yeah. But Sarah, I wanted to give some time to talk for you to share as well. I'm sorry we didn't get to hear from you yet.
Yeah, so my husband and I, like I mentioned earlier, we got married so young, so we really jumped into it with 2 feet. And so, and as I said earlier, I don't think either one of us had great role models. We were involved in church, and I really highly respected our pastor and his wife, and they were a really big role model for us early in our marriage. But yeah, it's a journey, like I mentioned, and I feel like we went through a lot of things together really early in our marriage that it was kind of like one of those things where, it can make or break your marriage. And I felt like, the difference for us is that we did have God in our marriage. And I felt like the things that we went through together really pulled us closer together. And, my own marriage changed my opinion on marriage because, I'm blessed with a great husband. So, and we were so young that I don't think that we didn't know that at the time that we were such great you know partners for each other. So you know but yeah, submission has been difficult for me because we were talking about we were raised by strong women, and I definitely agree with you, Maya, about just the freedom that is in that when you have a strong male partner that you can trust and you can lean on them. Because I feel like for women, a lot of us, I know I am, more emotional and I want to make fast decisions, and so it's good to have that counterpart, that person that balances you out, and at the end of the day, you guys can make a wise decision together. And it's not, I think that one positive thing between my husband and I is that, he listens to me. It's not like, oh, he's making all the decisions and I just have to go along with it. He hears me out, and I really feel like, that helper in our marriage. So.
Amen. And that's the key, making sure you marry a strong man of God who's not a man of God because he's married to you. He was a man of God
Right.
before you got married, and he's going to be a man of God after you married. So that's the key.
Yes. Now, can you guys share a little bit about your current family? Just a little bit more about the dynamics of what your family looks like. We can start with you, Dealdra.
Okay, so currently, as stated earlier, just got married. We do have a son, and my son he was born prior to our marriage, and he is with a different individual. So definitely working on our journey collectively, creating a space and place for us to grow as a newlywed couple, but also that whole journey of co-parenting is different. My son is currently 12. So for the longest time, I was doing the single parenting role that I grew up seeing, which is not something that I want to say, yes, I did that, because I realized that was a cycle that I got used to seeing. And that was definitely a generational curse in my family. But what I realized is being able to have, and like you said, a strong man of God coming in and just being able to say, hey, I'm here. You don't have to make those decisions by yourself. You don't have to do these things by yourself. It's still work in progress. I think we need a shirt that needs to be our motto for our family, work in progress. because it's not every day perfect. There are still some days, like the other day, woke up, had to go into work early and drop the kid off. And I was like, wait, I did not tell him, hey, I have to be in the work early. Would you like to drop the kid off at school today? Type of thing. But getting used to that blended family dynamic very much is a big pool. Our situation with my son's father is not perfect at all. It's not like a positive co-parenting type of situation. So even ensuring that there's balance there and that we ensure that there's peace in our home is our biggest push to make sure that we're growing as a family, but also just encouraging this we call him the kid, but encouraging him to be a strong man himself. Have not had any babies yet, but we are. And I think that's when we get back to the original conversation. Can we have it all? Because work-life balance is a big thing. Definitely have so many goals, career goals for myself that I want to attain, but even looking at for him what he would like, because he didn't come into our relationship with children. So just working on those desires and making sure that we have a good plan in place, but also following the plan of the Lord, because it's not always our plan.
That's true. That's true. There's so many layers that you touched on with the blended family. Like, I grew up in a very blended family, and it wasn't a good co-parenting situation for us. I didn't really have a relationship with my biological father until I was grown and I moved out here in Atlanta. But it was difficult to hear sometimes, like, my mom venting about my biological father, and then I never had really a interaction with him to have a different perspective. So I definitely think you have to have a positive relationship with when you're co-parenting, especially when you have kids listening, looking, even when you don't think they're listening and looking, it definitely affects them. But yeah, you touched on a lot of points there.
Yes. I was gonna say so many questions I have. I'm like, should I ask them now or ask them later? But I will just ask real quick. And I know Toya and I, when we were preparing for the show, talked a little bit about it. But the fact that you're raising, you and your husband now are raising a young Black man, like, what have been what has your journey been like, I should say? Even as a single parent, like, did you have to find, or were you trying to find positive role models for him? Did you have to have the talk with him by yourself, or are you waiting to do that later? Like, what has that journey been like thus far?
Whew. So for me as a mom, and just with a lot of things, being a mom, I've developed so many new fears that I just didn't know existed ever. So it's a continuous faith walk. It's a continuous love walk. It's action every day. I don't always get it right. And that's something that prayerfully, hopefully he will see when he gets older, because when I just don't get it right, COVID was crazy. It's still going on, but when we were stuck at home together, I did not get it right. But just raising him has been a complete journey. It's a learning progress. I'm always reading books, definitely waking up early to pray and build myself, and leaning on this new man of mine has been a godsend, because as much of a female as I am, and I am very much structured, disciplined, like, we gotta be here at this time. And I want to make sure, again, my biggest thing is to ensure that he's independent and he's strong, because my goal is to make sure that he will have a family one day. You're going to have to lead a family, and you might lead a nation. I want to make sure that you have these qualities in place. But there are a lot of lessons that I can't teach him. And there are a lot of conversations that I can't have with him because it's coming. I don't even know the perspective or his thoughts. So it has been a blessing to have my husband. I can say that weird. Have my husband, and their relationship is really strong and it's growing. But it's definitely, that's been so helpful. I have not had to talk with him. If that is the talk that I'm thinking of, not ready. But that is definitely because of his age. I know that's definitely a conversation that I would love for him and his father, his plus father, his bonus father to have, because again, it's a lot of thoughts as a female. I don't know the thoughts that goes on
Yeah.
in clothes. I'm on these thoughts and they're like, ew. So I have no idea how to have that conversation. I can have the biological conversation as a former science teacher. I got you.
There you go.
But other than that, no. And that again is a part of like that yielding process, and that submitting process. And I love how you said it's not always that. Those are the things that I'm like, here, take this. And but again, it's building him and just having him work on developing relationships with the people that's in his life.
Awesome.
Sarah, would you like to share a little bit about your dynamic of your current family?
Yeah, so I've been married for 13 years, and we have 3 daughters. Our oldest daughter, she's 11, and she was born with a lot of either medical defects and things like that, birth defects, and then we have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. So I wear a lot of hats. As a mom of girls, 3 girls, it's a different experience than being a boy mom. I can tell you that. But a lot of my daily, dynamic is just to be a stay-at-home mom, and I do a lot of stuff with my oldest daughter. She's in a lot of therapies and things like that. So that takes a lot. That's a lot of what's on my plate right now.
Wow. I was going to ask, I know, and Toya, I know you shared this just with the dynamics of your family, having 3 girls and a boy now. Just the fact that every child is different. And so even in hearing you share those dynamics, Sarah, like how do you, it's more than a full-time job, like parenting 3 girls and then your oldest has special needs. So like what are some steps that you've taken, or what's that journey been like, having to figure out what each child needs and cater to each child without making one feel, left out or less than, like what has your journey been like in that regard?
Yeah, so definitely I'm not perfect and I don't get it right all the time. I don't think anybody does, but one thing that I think really helped us was we had a lot of support when my daughter was first born. The hospital really stepped in and did a lot of training and things like that. We also had some local resources that came in and helped us kind of get the ball rolling and get all that stuff worked out. And then as we added in children and as they grow, we're just learning all the time. You just constantly have to change your way of doing things to make it work. It's each child is different, but I think that as a family, we try to just work together and make it work. It's a balance. It's a lot about balancing what needs to be done right now and who needs what right now in this moment, and just making it work.
I definitely get it and agree. I can relate with my family of 4 little kids, 3 girls, 1 boy, all the different personalities. We have a child that has a disability. So that has been a journey, understanding the disability. We learned about it much, much later in life for her. So dealing with like the mom guilt, like how did I miss all these different signs? And she was struggling. So just learning, reading books, researching like what types of therapies could better assist her, and just learning how to parent her. We've had to do some adjusting in our parenting style, giving her more attention sometimes than the other ones. It's definitely a balance. I think we go through different seasons where one child needs a little bit more attention than the other. Mason, the youngest baby, he just had surgery. So it's just a lot to keep up with. It's very hard keeping up with the personalities and different needs, and it's a lot. So I definitely get it.
And I saw a comment and it kind of sheds light on what you were saying because, Latoya, I've had those experiences of mom guilt. It's just like, oh my gosh, worst mom ever. But I love what someone put in the chat, praying for the grace of God to guide us through it while never sacrificing the essentials. Because it's God's grace that is going to get us through those moments and those times of when it's just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. And Sarah, like you said, it's not even the fact, and my hats are off to parents who have multiple children. I struggle with one on a daily basis. But you do go through those experiences of every child is different and knowing how to parent every child, but also realizing that they're growing. So how they were a month ago is a completely different person than they are now. So, and like Latoya, I do a lot of reading because you have to continue to stay abreast to what's going on and just understanding this new person that you have because they're different. They are so different.
Yes.
So true.
And I would say I think sometimes we are our worst critics as moms. We criticize ourselves so much. So definitely, like the elder was saying, just giving ourselves grace, grace to learn. It's okay that we're not perfect. We're not going to get it right. I have learned to apologize to my kids when I mess up. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, mommy, you didn't mean to to fuss at you. Like, I apologize. That was not a good mommy moment. So just learning to be humble enough to say that you're sorry to your kids. I don't think my parents ever apologized to us, but we do apologize to our kids when we make mistakes and just letting them know that we're humans. We're not going to be perfect.
Amen.
Yes.
All right. So I think we need to talk a little bit before we move on to leading the way. I do want to talk a little bit about work-life balance and how, Dealdra, you are a phenomenal woman. You do so many things with the school system, and you have so many career goals. I don't know if you want to share any of those things with becoming Eva, but how do you incorporate work-life balance with having now your wife, your mother of almost, I guess he's a teenager, of a teenage boy? How do you, with your mental and spiritual, physical, like, how do you do life? How do you manage it all? What does that look like for you?
Each day is different. I will say for me, I try to get up early before everybody else wakes up because that's when the house is still, it's calm, nothing is going on. No questions, no requests, nothing of that nature from anybody. I'm working on trying to get up earlier. 5 o'clock is my goal, but not there yet. And I will say just having those opportunities to pause because I have caught myself, especially on the mom end, of getting to a point where if I'm frustrated, if I'm overwhelmed, if I'm stressed, like having that conversation when it can be just a genuine no, it becomes I'm fussing. So really, and like I said, COVID really taught me a lot. And that's something that I'm really continuing to work on is just understanding, recognizing when I get stressed and having that moment to say, hey, I got a moment. I need a moment. I'm going to go to my room, do what you need to do, and just stepping away. I haven't gotten to the place of exercising on a daily basis just yet. I do love like group exercising and things like that because I just like the energy of other people. There are times where I need to have my individual time to really work on building up my energy, but I love being around people. So I got to get back into that space and place because I know that's a big, big help. And I will say this as, like I said, a former science teacher, the sun is beautiful. It's energizing. So taking time to get out and walk, even if it's just 10 minutes when it's a pretty day outside or just sitting and being thanking God for the small things. So looking at the small things and just being thankful for those. Monday is my favorite day of the week. It is a big day for me. And I know for most people, everybody's just like, why Monday? But it is a great way to start, just planning for the week and just looking at how you want to take on. It's kind of like New Year's Eve type of thing every single week for me, because I'm like, I can do it. These are all of my intentions. And so just looking at each day as a new day, if I don't make it through one task or things like that, but just looking at it as just a new day. So just refocusing and keeping the major goals, the big goals in mind, and working on intentions.
Mm-hmm. And Sarah, I know you're a stay-at-home mom, but being a mom is a full-time job, and you have a daughter that has special needs, so that's even additional stress, being able to manage everything. So how do you incorporate work-life balance as well?
Yeah, well, I think for me, number one is just reminding myself that this is a season, right? We're in different seasons all the time, and so I'm in a season where my children are young, and kind of like we were talking earlier with Sandra Bullock, you don't get this time back. So right now, even though I'm at home, I try to make that the best experience for my family that I can, and so. But it's a balance. Every day is different. There's different things that come up, every week, and so going into it, like you were talking about, with good intentions, and just reminding ourselves that we're human. Sometimes those things don't work out the way we thought they were going to work out, and that's okay. And just giving yourself grace every day that you're going to do the best you can. I'm going to show up, and I'm going to be the best I can, but at the same time, I'm human, and if I mess up, then that's okay too. I have to forgive myself, and I have to apologize to my kids. But we got to keep it moving. I think as women, as moms, it's our life, it's our everyday. So we just, we're kind of conditioned to just keep on going, keep pushing, and keep trying, and it's a race. We'll get there.
Yes, I love it. Your husband's shouting you out here in the chat. He says you work way harder than he does.
Oh.
I love it. I love it. Wow. This has been amazing. I do want to transition into leading the way, because our actions have a ripple effect, whether we realize it or not. And so whether you realize it or not, you both are leading, or we all are leading the way for generations to come. And so really wanted to just take some time to see if you all, if you realize, or if you see how your actions, as it relates to your children, even as it relates to your spouses, how you're leading the way for generations to come. Like, is that a perspective that you have? Is that something new for you? But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I was gonna say, sometimes we get so caught up in the day to day that I don't think that we always think about, how much meaning there is to what we're doing. Being strong moms and being strong wives, like this is, we're setting an example for women. And so, yeah, for me, I don't think about it all the time that way. I think the mom guilt and all that stuff, you kind of have to pull yourself out of that and remind yourself, like, there's a purpose to what I'm doing. It has meaning, and it has meaning to God, and it has meaning in our communities and our families, for sure.
Absolutely. Yes. Deidre,
And
did you have
I
anything you
agree.
want to share?
Yeah, I know that to be true, and that's something that I stand in, because you don't know. And I love how you said that it's a ripple effect. The decisions, the choices that I make, it has an impact on someone else's destiny. So I look at that as just overall, but in the moment, like Sarah said, it's not something that I'm thinking about. Collectively, I'm not looking at how, is this dinner that I'm making tonight impacting anybody and everybody. But I do look at that as just a continuous push. Like, that is a continuous strive of just certain, especially when it comes to career, certain decisions that I make. Being in education, it's a big thing for me, because it doesn't just impact my coworkers. It doesn't just impact the school that I work at. It impacts those babies. It impacts those families. in a major way. So I think on the career side, I look at it more than I do at the family side. And that's something that I need to start to readjust and making sure that that is aligned, because it's literally God and family. Not at
Yeah.
football yet, but it's God and family.
Shout out to the best man. Sorry. So are there I mean, we know family is hard. The roles that we play, the hats that we wear and juggle can be very challenging at times. Are there women that you've gleaned from over the years, to and even, today, that support you to kind of help you when you hit those rough patches or those tough spots, or you just need some advice? Like, are there women that you've been able to glean from over the years?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start. So I thought about this question, and I thought about the women in my life. And, earlier we were speaking about our upbringing. And so I really thought about my mom and the type of person that she was and her character. And so I chose her to highlight her. My mom actually recently passed away in October. And so I'm learning how to be the mom now. And so that's been a whole new journey in my life. But just her character was amazing. My mom went through so many trials and hardships in her life. Nothing was given to my mom. She worked for everything. And just her character as a Christian and her faith was amazing. I mean, my mom went through so much medical things and struggles with that. And she just remained faithful all the time. And I've never seen faith like my mom's. I haven't seen that anywhere else. And so I just admire that, and I want to emulate that in my own life.
It's beautiful, beautiful legacy.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing that. I know for me, I look at my grandma, I call her Grandma Griffin. She passed away, but she was the epitome for me of just womanhood. She definitely taught me a lot. She was a stay-at-home mom, and when I was younger, I'm like, I want to be free. I don't want to stay home. I don't want to. And we would watch soap operas all day. But I realized, like, she was really genuinely that backbone of our family, the foundation. She was the one when my papa was up at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, she was up earlier, making sure he had breakfast to get him out the door. I think she had about 10, 11 kids. But like you said, Sarah, that faith, that drive, that determination, making sure that she was pushing all of her babies to move forward. And even it became grandbabies. So she was a big, big motivating factor for me, and just someone that I think about as I make my walk and as I make my journey. I'm learning to work on buckets. So I'm a bucket post-it note type of person. So as much of a woman as I am, I also want to be a great mother, but I also want to work professionally as just being able to do amazing things there. So I know in my professional life, I look at the leader of the school that I work at, and she has done amazing things and just really leading the way and just pushing. And her drive is something that I really look up to, and just her energy, because I know she's up early, super early, and she's going, 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 and she knows so much. So I look at that as just someone to look up to and just hold in high esteem as far as professionally speaking. Again, working on buckets. I haven't gotten all my buckets there, but I know I have to rub elbows. I'm working on my wife bucket. So I feel like I have a community here that I can lean on.
Yeah.
Because I feel, that's the saying, iron sharpens iron, in the scripture in the Bible, iron sharpens iron. So just looking at all the roles we take on as women and making sure that we have those individuals in mind that are going to sharpen us and encourage us and push us to do better and hold us accountable in those roles as well. I think it's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're about to transition out of the segment, but I have two questions I want to ask you before we close out. First off, is there a word of wisdom or a piece of advice that you would give other women that are in similar roles in their family, that play similar roles in their family?
Yeah, so definitely I would say to find your support. I think that we need other women. We need other, if you're married, you need other couples. You need role models. You need people that are in the same, going through the trenches with you, that can relate to what you're going through. But I would also say, too, that your faith has to be number one, and trusting in the Lord to provide for you and to give you what you need every day has to be number one. But finding that support really will help you get through the times where you don't feel like you're going to get through. We can't do it by ourselves. We can't do it alone. We need others. We were made for relationships with our spouse, our family, but also friends and community. We need that.
Very true. Very true.
Sarah, I will echo that. And just building yourself up, taking that time to ensure that you are your strongest self, your strongest version of you is so important, because it's going to help to make sure that you are building those relationships. And faith is a big thing, just making sure that you're not walking by yourself, but continuing to build yourself up in those small moments. Praying, building your relationship with God is huge. So echoing what Sarah said, because that's awesome. So I'm just adding to it.
Awesome. And then I know Toya and Deidre, both of you mentioned you read a lot. So are there any tools or resources you would recommend? Sarah, anything you'd recommend, either podcast wise or just anything you would recommend as just playing the different roles that you play in your home that have helped you, to make your role easier, where you've learned some different things or just equipped you further. But any tools or resources you would recommend?
So yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of positive parenting podcasts. I read a lot of positive parenting books because I didn't grow up that way. That's not my that wasn't a tool that I had in my toolbox, and so I wanted to parent differently. And so I started trying to learn from people who did do that. So yeah, I definitely listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to Focus on the Family and things like that as well. I listen to your podcast too.
Shout out to Becoming Eva.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I do, I agree. Definitely just being able to hear, because that is a big thing. Is just listening to those positive podcasts. When it comes to different books that I read, it's definitely looking at what areas of growth I see, whether it is motherhood, if it is being a wife is the newest thing. So I'm looking for books there. But also one of the things I know, my son, he has ADHD. So looking at just different, and Google, I know it's bad to just say Google it, but just looking out for some things, because a lot of times you just don't know. And I'm not a big Facebook person, but I know that does help to build a community, because you can, if you put things in there, it will help find a lot of communities that you were just like, I thought I was by myself, or I didn't know this existed. So that has been, I know, a lot of individuals' journey, where if it's a health issue that they're struggling with, mental health issue that they're struggling with, definitely that has been helpful, finding a community that they hear and they know that they're not the only person struggling with it. My friend is trying to put me on an app for just the being able to meditate and just that mental health part of being calm. So I haven't quite downloaded it yet, but she keeps sending me good quotes and good thoughts. So I will keep you all posted on that. But I know that's important as well, of having that time to just stop and pause and build yourself up. So
awesome. Good.
Yeah.
Wow. This show is awesome, guys. Thank you all so much for being so authentic and transparent on the show. Our next segment is Noble Character Acknowledgement. And we wanted to give you all an opportunity to shout out a woman in your life or in your community that has made a difference in your life or in the difference in her community. Just give them some praise, just shout them out as a woman of noble character.
I'll kind of reverse a little bit. So my lady, I'll give her another shout out, is the leader of our the school that I currently work for. She is in our community is not like any other school community. It's a virtual school, so we impact students all over the state. So her impact definitely causes, and it's that trickle effect that you were talking about. It impacts a lot of families across the state, but it also impacts our actual, like my family, my coworkers' family, because it creates a space where it's not where you have to go into a school on a daily basis and work. So it really opens up more opportunities for us to be able to be moms and do what we need to do. So I'm shouting her out, and I'm going to pass it over to Sarah.
Yeah. So again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, definitely my mom. I want to shout her out, but also I thought about it too. You know, I am also another role that I play is Jason is an ordained minister, and I feel like our pastors' wives don't always get the recognition that they deserve because they do so much. And so I definitely also want to throw a shout out to our pastor's wife. Her name is Misty Peacock, and she is such a strong woman and such a strong role model for us wives in the church, and pastors' wives especially too. So yeah, I want to shout her out.
Yes.
Awesome.
I love it.
And Jason is in the chat shouting you out, Sarah, as a woman of noble character for today's episode.
Love it.
So cute.
So we have this black dress challenge that we've been doing this season to become the healthiest versions of ourselves, eating healthier, walking, exercising, losing weight, whatever health goals that you have, so that we can fit into that black dress in the closet or at Macy's that you've been wanting to get in and look great in. So we've been challenging our fans every week to either like drink water, a gallon of water every day, or go for a 20-minute walk. So this week, our black dress challenge is to go outside, similar to what Deeldra was saying, and enjoy some sunshine while the season is changing. Maybe go outside at least 3 times this week and enjoy the weather. So this month we have been celebrating Women's History Month. We've had so many wonderful women join us on our episodes this month, just celebrating women, because I think we're superheroes. Like, we need like a cape and a sign. I don't know, Superman and Batman, they don't have anything on a woman. Like, we are superheroes. So we have been celebrating women all month long. We have 2 more episodes left in the season. So come back and join us, becoming Eva fans, for our last 2 episodes for season 4. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Becoming Eva Today.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you guys so much.